All right, guys, thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. I wanted to do a shout out for the sponsors of the event. First up, we got Rex Rodenbach, KC Investor Funding. He's a hard money lender, one of the best hard money lenders in the business. We just had one of my good friends had two lenders, two loans blow up on him for a deal that he was trying to buy. Rex came in at the last minute and closed it in a week. Very short notice. But was able to get that deal done for him. If he says he can do the deal for you, he's going to make sure that he gets it done. Another sponsor, RD Title and Exchange, Rick Davis Title. It's the title company that we use for basically all of our deals. We do a lot of wholesales, we do a lot of very short-term deals like foreclosures and stuff like that. I'm not going to go as far as saying that he's a magician, but some of the stuff that he's able to pull off with getting foreclosure sales stopped and creative finance deals, all sorts of funky deals done in a very timely manner and very efficiently. He is definitely the best in the game in terms of a title company if you're in any kind of investment type deals. Also, we have Elevate You personal training. It's Catherine. He's sponsoring this event. So if you guys are looking to elevate your personal fitness or your your health or anything like that, talk to me about that after the show and I can put you in touch with him. If you guys are looking for office space, so you're looking for any office space in North Kansas City, we have offices from just a single office for rent, just month to month, up to 1,500 or 3,000 square foot worth of office space in a great location in North Kansas City, very affordable, ready to go. And also sponsored by the Dan Kohan Off-Market Mentorship. So guys, what I do is I'm putting this event together. I'm an investor. I do a lot of off-market deals, do a lot of wholesaling, and I buy a lot of deals for myself. If you guys want to get on my buyers list, there's a sign-in sheet over there where you can put your information in and we can send you deals, as well as have awesome meetups like this one. But I do, I have a few students, Brian being one of them here for sure. So I teach, you guys how to do off-market deals, whether it's for foreclosures, probates, creative finance. That's what we're doing every single day. So if you guys want, some more information on how to do that and have a helping hand that's going to guide you through how to do that for yourself. And with that, guys, I'd like to bring up Dan Reedy. He's done over 3,000 real estate transactions. Yeah, let's go. Done over 3,000 deals since 2005. He's in the trench every single day. We actually just assigned him a deal the other day. He's doing real deals all the time. He's probably seen it all, from every kind of weird situations. He runs a property management company right now, as well as doing a ton of flips and deals every single day. He's going to be here, guys. If you have any deals that you're looking at right now or you have questions about, this is what he's going to be doing, a kind of a Q&A. Ask him anything, bring your deal, let's analyze your deal, anything you guys have going on. That's what we're here to do, guys. This is like a free hour of his time to pick his brain and help others while you do it, guys. So put your hands together, guys, for Dan Reedy.
Thanks, Mom. Yeah.
There you go.
Hi, gang. Thanks for having me out. So of the first three sponsors, the hard money lender, the title company, and the personal trainer, guess who I don't use? What's a personal trainer? Anyway, I'm Dan Reedy. Quick bio. Been doing this right at 20 years. Have literally bought and sold at least 3,000. I found an email from 2011 where Stuart Title sent me an email and said, hey, you just passed 1,000 transactions with us January of 2011. And I'd been in business like 6 or 7 years. And that was just one title company. My thing is like a relationship thing. So, I've bought and sold, I've kept a bunch of stuff, but I deal with investors all over the world. I've sold hedge funds, a ridiculous amount of houses, but I'm kind of the boots on the ground guy. So I've got clients I've sold 150 houses to, and they just keep buying from me. But when I sell a house, everything I look at is with the investor in mind, or whoever my client is. And so when somebody walks in and says, hey, Dan, heard about you want to buy a property, the first question I ask is, what are you trying to accomplish? Because I need to know your business model better than you do. And so then you try to match that up to them. So I support my clients way after the sale. I'm still doing maintenance and rehabs on houses I sold 10 years ago. Owned a property when I was married. We had a brokerage. We had a property management company, managed about 500 doors. I had a radio show for 3 years called Real Estate Investing for the Regular Guy. That was kind of cool. We didn't pimp stuff out. We didn't try to sell houses. We talked about the good, bad, and ugly of real estate investing. It was educational, but it was, what's a cap rate? How do you figure a cap rate? Well, I was just talking to somebody that's in insurance, and I said, we had a lot of insurance guys, and probably our most popular one was the tax guy, talking about once you buy a property, what do you do? How do you offset your income? What's depreciation and that kind of thing. So there's not much in real estate, primarily single family. I do a little bit of multifamily. I don't really do anything in commercial. Single family is just kind of my niche. If you look at, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ruskin Heights. I've literally bought and sold 400 or 500 houses in Ruskin. If I ever go blind and I'm a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, I can frickin' buy and sell houses in Ruskin. So I can tell you exactly what we're gonna do to it and not even see it. So I was sitting in the back smoking a cigar and having a drink. A guy walked up to me, he says, yeah, you remember me 12 years ago, we were walking through a Ruskin house and you were telling me how you were gonna do it and how many you done, and you're gonna take this door out and put a sliding door where these windows are. Well, Kevin Tan was talking to me, and I had literally just said that to him 5 minutes before. So it's one of the benefits when I walk through a rehab. We've done so many, I can get you within 5 or 10% really fast. I've got renovation crews. That's a pain in the ass, dealing with renovation crews. I was going big guns for a while. I've kind of slowed down a little bit to rebuild some crews because I have a one-strike rule with contractors. You screw one up, you're done. But when Daniel asked me to speak tonight, he says, what topic do you want to speak on? I'm like, what topic do you want me to speak on? There's not much that I haven't touched or been involved with or screwed up or made money on or whatever. And I said, let's just do kind of an open forum. So everybody here has a different exit strategy. Everybody here has a different reason for being here. Some people are actively buying properties. Some people are wanting to buy properties. Some people are thinking about being wholesalers. There's probably some contractors in here, etc. So let's start out with how many people here tonight have put a house under contract this year? Just raise the hands. Yeah, so a third, maybe half. That's pretty good. How many people in this room have put a house under contract in the last 12 months? Really about the same number. So how many have put more than 5 under contract in the last year? That's still a pretty good number. That's good. That's good. So the guys that have put 5 or more properties under contract in the last year, what's your biggest pain point? When you do it, what's your just like, oh shit, I hope this doesn't happen again? So what's your biggest pain point? Is it money? Is it rehab? Somebody holler out a pain point or a question on the properties you've bought.
Finding more deals.
Okay, inventory, finding deals. Daniel is one of the few that I've seen that do what I did 15, 18, 20 years ago. I started out selling cars right out of high school, just a white trash kid from Grandview. I was pretty good at sales, managed dealerships, etc., and decided 20 years ago I was going to get into real estate and start buying and selling houses. Didn't know shit about real estate, but I knew I could buy and sell stuff. So I kind of figured out what I wanted to do, borrowed $40,000 against my house and had a $250,000 credit line. And back then it was kind of like the market had been in the last couple of years. It was pretty hot. I hit the ground running. I was making money. And I was like, man, I am the smartest real estate guy in the whole wide world. And then it slowed down, turned to shit. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not. But when it was hot, I was spending a ton of money on advertising, and the Star had these inserts they put out every Wednesday that made me a bunch of deals. I was probably spending 10 or 15 grand a month to find deals. And when it slowed down, I'm like, how do I do this without doing that? And we went and started knocking doors. We would identify neighborhoods. We would drive up and down streets. We had a voice activated tape recorder at the time, and then we would drive neighborhoods up and down, and then we would put the addresses in the voice activated tape recorder, and then we'd come back, listen to those, put it in an Excel spreadsheet, and then we would do a mail merge, and then we would print off labels, and then we would put them on a postcard and said, hey, I saw your house. If you're interested in selling it, give me a call. And bought a ton of houses that way. So when Daniel says he's out knocking doors and finding deals, what does that cost you? It's free, yeah. So there's lots of ways to find inventory. What else? What's a pain point? Good point. So there's obviously there's social media. You've got all the real estate groups, Bridge and Mary and that kind of stuff. It's really a relationship business. Is anybody in here a licensed real estate agent? Okay. Do any of you work with investors now? Do you want to work with more investors? So with licensed real estate agents, what I tell them to do is you don't necessarily have to have a property to sell to find investors. What you need to do is become very familiar with the investing world, find out cap rates, find out what rental values are, become knowledgeable, and then say, hey, I work with investors. What are you looking for? What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to find? A good agent could get on the MLS right now today and do an auto search just in area 202 and start looking for 2 and 3 bedroom, 1 and 2 baths. And there would probably be 150 actives in that particular ballpark. And of those, probably 40 to 60 would be something that you could potentially sell to an investor depending on what their exit strategy is. And I don't know that anybody's doing that. So I think they're waiting for a client to say, I want to buy this house, and they go try to match something to them, as opposed to saying, hey, let's do a post. I found 15 properties on the MLS that I think might work for an investor. Send me your information, tell me what you're looking to accomplish, and then try to marry those properties to the investor. Does that make sense? But one of the biggest ways to find investors is through repeat and referral. I started out with no investors. I started wholesaling houses when the market was good. Subprime was hot. So then we started renovating and selling to the subprime market, which was a breeze. And then I became a net branch of a mortgage company. And this is all in like a 2 or 3 year span. I mean, this was really quick. And then when the subprime went down, we said, oh shit, we need to get out of subprime and get into the rental market. Then I said, who's buying rental houses in Kansas City? Because there weren't 40 or 50 wholesalers in town. There were basically 2 big entities in Kansas City that bought and sold houses like we all do now. And then I just started marketing rental properties, and I found out it was mostly out-of-state investors that buy the most properties because they can't get the returns that they want in their own market. Having a product that is profitable for an investor that you can put out is a great way to find investors, but you have to have credibility. We see so many properties that hit the MLS. Is Ross here yet? So I've got a client, and we talk about it all the time, and we'll send emails back and forth. It's like, dude, did you get this email on this house? Oh my God, the guy was smoking crack, you know? And there's certain deals that come across that have zero credibility that if you get an email, if they sent me a house for Ruskin for 25 grand, I probably wouldn't open it because they've sent so much stupid shit, you know, the last 10 times. You have to have that investor mindset, that investor profit in mind. How can I benefit someone? And then that's how the benefit comes back to you. Does that make sense? So I talked to somebody, Rachel's friend is thinking about investing. What was your concern? About buying houses, and then what happens if you can't pay for them. So she's interested in buying properties, but she doesn't have enough information. She's worried about what happens if she buys these properties, and then if they go vacant and you can't make the payments on them and that type of thing. Is that accurate? So finding a power team, somebody that you trust in the market, number one, to say, hey, here's this property, here's the upside, here's the downside, and making sure that you're actually ready. I would have clients come in literally all over the states, and we would show them the different neighborhoods and the properties we have available, and they said, we're new investors, we want to buy 5 of these from you. And I'm like, I'm not going to sell you 5. I'm going to sell you 2, maybe 3. Let's see how it goes. And here's the downside to the neighborhoods. Urban core, great returns, not much appreciation. I say that now. There's neighborhoods that I was selling in for 34 or 35,000 that are worth 150,000 now. But for 10 years, they weren't. You have to get with somebody that you trust and start out slow and make sure you've got some reserves and you're ready for that, what I call the oh shit factor, okay? Because it's still investing, there's still risk. And so just start out with 1 or 2, see how it goes, and then build from there. One of the biggest pain points for most investors is property management. The biggest problem with property management is not the accounting or getting paid, it's the tenant placement and the maintenance and repairs. I do so much maintenance for my clients that they don't let their property managers do it. I've got a guy that I've sold, like I said, 120 houses to, and he called me about a house up north early last year, and he sends me this maintenance request for like $14,000 or $15,000, $16,000, all of the stuff they want to do, and I'm like, I'll be up there in an hour. I walked through it, I took pictures, sent some stuff to my guys. I saved him $10,000 on this maintenance request, and I made money on it. So what had happened was the management company is not necessarily trying to screw him, but you've got somebody that sits behind a desk taking the maintenance calls, and then they ship those out to whoever their contractors are. And that contractor goes out and it's like, yeah, we just need to cut this whole tree down. We're going to replace the whole entire driveway. We're going to replace all the gutters. you know, we're going to do $15,000 of stuff on a $10,000 or $100,000 rental that didn't need to be done. And but most investors that aren't familiar or in the area, they're just like, well, I guess if I got to do it, I got to do it. So, but the person behind the desk doesn't know if a water heater should be $1,500 or $3,000. Again, it's all about that power team, having somebody that you trust, not necessarily just the management company, but somebody that does your rehabs, et cetera, that can say, you know what, let me go look at it and lay hands on it. I sell more houses to more investors, not because I have inventory, but it's because I took care of a problem that they had on something else. You know, somebody referred them to me and they said, you know, we've got this issue, what's going on here? You go take care of that problem, you take care of another problem, and next thing you know, they said, hey, we want to buy a house or we want to sell a house. Now they're my client. It's providing value to the investor and to that client. You have to think of their benefit first. I never look at a deal and say, I'm going to make all of this money on this particular deal. When I look at a property, I look at what my particular client that's going to buy it, what are they going to do with it? If they're going to hold it for a rental, how much is it going to rent for? What are the expenses? What is their desired rate of return? And what price point does that hit? And how much is the rehab? And whatever is the difference between my acquisition cost and the rehab, whatever's left over is my profit. I don't worry about my profit up front. If I take care of the client, the money has magically appeared in my bank account. I got my real estate license in 2016. And in 2017, First Key Homes came to town and bought out BLT Homes out of Atlanta. BLT Homes had about 500 properties in Kansas City, and First Key Homes had, 20,000 properties across the United States. Bought out BLT, and they wanted to add 1,000 doors in Kansas City, the next 2 or 3 years. And my name popped up somehow, and so I went and talked to them, and they offered me a salary position that I didn't want, and we ended up working out a deal. And so licensed agent 2016, the middle of 2017, they bring me on as their agent to start finding them properties. And I think from August through the end of the year, I sold 85 properties, $14 or $15 million in sales. And then in 2018, I sold them 207 properties at $37 million in profit. But in all those deals, we looked at what they were trying to accomplish, and if we were off $5 or $6 grand and we couldn't make the deal, I said, take it out of my commission. I took multiple zero commission deals that made the co-op agent happy, made First Key Homes happy, that made me a ton of money after the fact. I would have co-op agents tell their clients, and there'd be 10 or 15 offers on the same house, and they'd be like, Dan's a sure thing. He's less money, but he's a sure thing. So co-op agents would recommend to their clients to take, I put the deal ahead of the profit, if that makes sense. So we've kind of gone off on a tangent here. So again, open forum. Joe, you deal with some investors. What do you see as one of the problems working with customers? We have a client that we work together that every time I sell him a house, I'm like, tell me what Joe thinks about it. Joe has a great reputation, does a great job with first-class real estate, and one of the guys around that has the client's best interest at heart. So there's not many wholesalers that say, hey, go talk to this other guy and let him tell you what it's worth before I sell it to you. Yeah.
And it's the rehab's done. There's no one in there yet. I've just been waiting on listing it or advertising it for rent. I must have shown up like 2 minutes before it happened, after it happened, because water had not collected yet. But it was in the garage, and I was actually able to catch the water with a mixing tub that I still had there from the rehab project. And so I'm like throwing it out the back window every 3 minutes as I'm in the front yard trying to find the shutoff valve. So notes, if you own a lot of properties, it's always good to keep a shutoff tool scenarios where I got it all shut off quickly with no damage. Those have been my most recent pain points. I'm trying to think like beyond that, what would those be? Lending, a lot of people talk about that quite a bit. I had personally had dealt with that. Just seeing things that were taking too long to close. Usually on DSCR loans. And I took matters into my own hands and created a lending company.
Nice.
So I hope to be able to give myself good service in the future, as well as my network. And I think that would be the biggest pain point I think I had seen in a lot of the transactions I did last year. I think I did over 40, probably half were investors. So the lending side of things probably was a big one. We all know just flips are taking a little longer to sell right now. I think, I've worked with Dan and Austin on one of their flips, with Samson on some of his. Samson, he had a water issue while we were on the market, and just a really random thing that happens when you own real estate. So for me, I've just learned to go with the flow on these things that come up that are unexpected, and everything can be fixed, and just don't get too emotional when these things happen. I'm a lot healthier emotionally.
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to power team, okay? You're a power team, you're a resource for the people that you work with. And from experience, you knew to go check on properties when the weather was really cold. Vacant properties, when I had a management company, I would charge $50 a month to manage your vacant properties, because I'm going to check your vacant properties a lot more than I am an occupied property. I've seen more properties have pipes burst that are managed by professional management companies because nobody's out there checking the vacant properties. So having a guy like Joe or myself or whoever you deal with that says, dude, the weather's getting ready to get cold, I know the heat's on, but let's shut off the water, let's drain everything. And so if something happens and the power goes out, the gas goes out, you don't have a pipe that you don't find out for 4 or 5 days. And I haven't had a pipe break in a house in years, because when it starts to get cold, I have my guys go out and we shut the water off on everything. Even if they're in the middle of a rehab, shut the water off, they can turn it on the next day and get back to work. But I want that water shut off. I missed one just recently. Had a house with a boiler system. The boiler was on, but I had the water off, but I didn't drain the radiators, okay? And so the boiler went out, the radiators froze, these big like cast iron radiators, blew the whole end out of the radiator, and there was just enough water in the radiators to leak on the new hardwoods, and then a stain on a wall. But because I had the water off, it didn't run forever, but I wasn't smart enough to drain the radiators. But I don't think that's going to happen again. And I've learned something. It's like a hot stove. You don't touch a hot stove. The other thing you talked about on was lending. So how many people that buy properties here use lenders? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you using hard money lenders, private lenders, family? Yeah. All of the above. So, huh? Rich uncle, yeah. I was born with a wooden spoon, so I have no golden spoon. I had nobody to get money from. What's your take on hard money? I hear a lot of people talk that hard money is too expensive. Any questions why hard money is a bargain? Anybody think hard money is a bargain? I think hard money is a bargain. And they're like, what's the rate? Don't give a shit, okay? Yeah. I'm going to keep the property 6 months and then I'm going to refi it out because I'm already approved. So the ability to have money and close a deal, if it's 20%, you build that in. If it's still profitable, you do it. Hard money is still what, 11, 12, 13%, depending on who you use, 3 or 4 points on the VIG. But over 6 months on 100 or 150,000, it's costing you 7 or 8 grand, somewhere in there. Your cash flow or your profit on the flip more than makes up for that. I think hard money is a bargain. Yeah.
So I'd like to know your take, your experience, and this was a bit of an epiphany for me because I ended up buying, I sold one house and I bought 3 project houses with my own money, and now I'm on my 4th one with hard money. And so what I've had multiple lenders tell me is when you go to refinance a not all the leads I'm selling, some of them I may hold. But and this was new. They want to see that underlying debt that they will pay off, and they will be in first position.
Yeah.
And if you bought it for cash and there's no underlying debt, it actually hurts you for the amount they want to lend on for that to go forward. And I was like, I didn't fully understand, like, why would they care? I've had multiple lenders tell me that.
Yeah, and again, that goes back getting your ducks in a row before you do the loan. If you would have known that, then you would have planned accordingly. Ross was asking me the other day, he says, I've been cashing out on these houses that you've sold me. And he says, I got a bunch of cash in the bank. You think I ought to just pay cash for these? I'm like, hell no, use somebody else's money, because there will come a certain period of time, and I've been through it, where, man, I wish I had a bunch of cash. Equity is nothing, I want that cash, because when the market turned and all the equity I had and that I thought I had in rental properties during the mortgage meltdown, credit lines, it all went away. Properties that were worth $150,000 were bringing $70,000, $80,000. They didn't give a shit what they sold for. They just wanted them gone because the loans were covered, and I ended up with no cash. I thought I had all this equity that secured my lines of credit, because I kept paying everything down, that I ended up with nothing. And properties were cheap. Then was selling houses in Ruskin for $37,500 during the mortgage meltdown, and I couldn't keep one of them because they wouldn't loan money on houses back then. Ended up losing everything, bankruptcy, foreclosure. My wife left me. Lost it all, and sold houses cheap. I kept my head afloat, built back up, and it didn't take that long. I went from divorced, foreclosure, bankruptcy in 11 to 2018, over $1 million in commissions as a real estate agent. It was a pretty quick turnaround. But back to your point, what should you do? You need to, once you figure out what you think your exit strategy is going to be, you need to have the pieces in place first. If you would have talked to your lender first, you could have said, what's the minimum I need to owe on these houses to refinance out? Are you refinancing out at 80% of what I put in it, what I owe on it, or appraised value? So my bank at the time, it didn't matter what the appraisal was. They wanted to know how much I paid for it, what the loan was, how much I had in it, and then they would loan up to a certain percentage, not to exceed 80% of the appraisal. So information is gold on that count. Finding somebody to team up with, like a Joe or somebody like Dan or myself, or there's multiple resources in this room. Ashley Abbott doing a ton of stuff, lending and doing wraparound. How many properties have you bought this year using other people's money? Not this year, but in the last 12 months, 2023. 26 properties using other people's money, right? I saw it on Facebook, but about how much equity do you have in those? How much? About 1.5 million in equity using other people's money. That ain't bad. So you've been doing this like 20 or 30 years. You're like a guru. 2 years? Yeah, exactly. And you're doing pretty well. But one thing that I see Ashley Abbott do, he doesn't live in $1 million house. He puts everything, but he's building a business, right? You're building up for the future. You're taking what you've got and rolling it in how to buy more properties, and you touch every property. You're not handing a lot of stuff off to other people, am I right? Yeah. 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 And there'll come a certain point that you either have to have somebody in your network to manage these. I like property management. I think everybody should use property management for the 10, if it's 10%, then I've done a lot of articles. I've spoke a lot about property management. And the first question investors ask is, how much is the monthly fee and how much is the tenant placement fee? Don't worry about it. At the end of the year, your net operating income is not going to make hardly any difference based on whether you pay 7% monthly fee or 10% monthly fee. If they charge you half a month's rent to place a tenant, or a full month's rent to place a tenant, that's $1,000 on a $2,000 rental, right? 3% on a $2,000 rental is $60 a month, okay? $1,700 in net operating income isn't gonna kill you. If they screw you by $5 or $10 grand on maintenance, if they put in a shitty tenant and it costs you 10 grand to get it back, and you've got vacancy and you've got to spend 10 grand to put it back together, that makes a big difference in your net operating income. That's your difference between winning and losing. That's not the first questions to ask. Tell me about your maintenance, tell me about your tenant placement, and do I get to look at the tenants and say yes or no? So, does that make sense? What else?
What are your thoughts on the commercial real estate approach?
My thoughts on the commercial real estate? Oh, explosion or implosion? Implosion is going to happen. That trend started in New York and the coasts about COVID time. People figured out that we don't have to have office space. People are working from home because of COVID, and all of a sudden it's like, well, we're getting stuff done. People were selling off massive properties on the coast and in New York to buy properties in the Midwest that were safer. So it's going to be a cycle, but it's kind of like the millennials now. If you look at the people that are in the rental market, it's not people that can't afford to buy a house. It's people that say, I don't want to own a house. I don't want to take care of the maintenance. I don't want to pay the taxes. I might want to move. I might want to do something else. To drive to work to an office every day or, work in a factory. How many people are living in the same house 50 years, raising their kids, living there forever? Not many anymore. You just have to watch the trends, and shopping malls were hot, then shopping malls died. Strip malls were hot, then strip malls died. It's all a cycle. It was commercials' turn to implode, if that makes sense. It's being careful. It's looking at trends, what I call the hood, the 64127, 64128, 64130. People were selling houses in there for ridiculous money. Back before everything got hot, I wouldn't sell a house in there unless it was at 50 times rent. If it rented for $800 a month, the most I would sell a house retail ready or rehab rental ready for $40,000. I wanted to be 50 times rent because the risk was very high, so you had to have a high return to offset that risk, which would be vacancy, vandalism, theft, etc. So when we ran out of inventory, all of a sudden it's like, well, we can buy stuff in 64127 and 64128, which historically have been the two shittiest zip codes in Kansas City forever. Now you've got houses in those zip codes in 2019, 2020, 2021, selling for 150, 200,000, 250,000. Well, those are the first neighborhoods as inventory corrects and the market corrects, that those neighborhoods are dropping like rocks now, okay? Ruskin. I drew a line in the sand, 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and said, I will never, ever sell a house in Ruskin. One of my clients for more than $70,000. Yeah, so, yeah. But I was selling, I was like, there's 1,500 houses in Ruskin, in that Ruskin Heights, Ruskin Village, Ruskin Hills, and 50% of the neighborhood is still shit. It's just not that nice. A lot of rentals, a lot of beat up stuff, high crime, terrible school district. And I had a house, you'll love this story, so I go to the casino quite a bit because I'm old and single and have money. And so I'm playing poker, and at the time it was when I was selling all the hedge funds, and I had a United Real Estate shirt on just because they were comfy. And so I'm sitting there playing poker, and this old guy sitting at the end of the table says, "You in real estate, boy?" And I'm like, "Uh-huh." And, "What do you do?" And I said, I buy and sell houses. I buy and sell rental houses and that kind of stuff. He says, "Well, my dad died and left me some properties." And he said, "Are you familiar with Ruskin?" And I said, "Yeah, I know a little bit about Ruskin. I've done some houses in Ruskin." "Well, I've got two side by side. One's kind of the storage house. It's really bad." But he said, "I got a tenant in the other one. It's not terrible. It ain't great, but it's bringing $600 a month. That'd be something you're interested in?" And I'm like, Sure. I said, "I'm a cash buyer. Here's my card. Look it up. And if I can help you out, let me know." Never heard from him. A month later, I'm playing poker. I'm at Harrah's, and the old guy sitting at the end of the table, and I don't say anything. He's like, "Hey, you're that fellow that is in real estate, right?" He says, "Yeah." And he says, "Well, I still got those two houses in Ruskin." And he said, "Somebody came out and looked at them and offered me $19,000 for the pair. What do you think?" I said, "You're getting fucked." And pardon my language, but that's exactly, I said, "You're getting fucked." He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I'm a buyer right now today. I don't have to look at them. And I'll give you between $25,000 and $30,000 for the pair, sight unseen. If they're anywhere close to what you say they are, I'll give you $25,000 guaranteed, and I might go to $30,000 sight unseen." "Oh, bullshit." And I said, "Try me on, motherfucker," And he says, "All right, meet me out there at 9 o'clock in the morning." And so we went out there, and sure enough, that first house had a big add-on, but the slab was cracked. It was horrible. It was just junk. In the day, it's a house I would have gave, $2,500 for, maybe $5,000 tops. The house next door wasn't bad. It was still the original Ruskin house, but it wasn't horrible. People had just moved out. And what do you think? I said, "Well, I'll give you $25,000 for the pair." He said, "You said you'd give 30. I said, "Well, I said I might give 30. He said, "Do 27.5. I said, "Deal." And so I bought these two houses side by side for 27.5, and that was before it really bumped up. and got hot, but it was pretty good. I was excited. So I looked at that junk house and I'm thinking, yeah, if I can just, if I can get somebody to give me $7 or $8 grand for it. And I'm like, I don't know, Ruskin's starting to, I'm gonna throw it out there at 22.5 and see what happens. And I had people all over this son of a gun. It was so bad, I ended up selling that house for 16.5, okay? So I'm in the good house, 11 grand, and I put a tenant in there, a family member that was like bad. And I put new carpet in it and cleaned it up, and they just trashed it. So like 3 or 4 years later, I get them out. The market's hot in Ruskin. We're putting in new cabinets. We're kicking out walls, new roof, new windows. I think my rehab was $37,000 on it. I'm in at 11. And I'm about 99% done, and I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll sell it to an investor. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. And a guy pulls up with his agent, and he says, can we look at this? I'm like, sure. And it was, agreeable gray and white trim like everything else is, had LVP. And are you going to sell it? And I'm like, well, I might. What do you want for it? I'm like, hell, I don't know. I said, stuff's starting to bring pretty good. And he says, I'll give you $125,000 cash. And I said, you own it, yeah. Winner, chicken dinner. And it was just the standard 864, 3-bedroom, 1 bath on a slab, just the standard old Ruskin house. But I made $37,11, 48, so I made $77,000 on a house. I got just having a United Real Estate shirt playing poker, and I wasn't trying to sell the guy houses, but what I wear every time I go out in public? I have some kind of real estate shirt on. I'm not handing out cards and asking people if they want to buy and sell houses, but if they start the conversation, okay? When COVID hit and you had to wear a mask, Vistaprint printed me off masks that says, I buy houses for cash on the front. And I wore those some bitches everywhere, And I didn't buy a bunch of houses, but I probably picked up 2 or 3 off of it. You buy houses? I'm like, uh-huh. Gal I was seeing at the time, she's like, that's embarrassing. I'm like, what do you mean it's embarrassing, And I was like, I gotta wear something, So it says, buy houses just like right here, But, when I had camper shell, I had the same camper shell on 3 different trucks that had my logo and I buy houses. I posted a picture on Facebook the other day in a kilt. That was my shtick back in the day. I wore a kilt and I carried a 45. I was in the hood all the time. And we had a couple of different crews come out trying to get us a reality TV show. I'll post that. But that was my thing. I didn't buy a ton of houses, but I bought, maybe 10 in 3 or 4 years just because the back of my window said I buy houses. So so you talk about how to find deals or how to find investors or, that kind of thing. Philip, talk to us about your investing strategy. Philip and Tanner have been in the market. Tanner's back there in the back, and very aggressive, nice young guys. So these guys live out by Hollywood Casino, and they invited me out. We met through a group out of Ohio I buy a bunch of houses for, and they said, you got to meet this guy. So they invited me out, and it's this big ranch, are you on a couple of acres? Yeah, you're on 5 acres. It sets 200 yards off the road, okay? It's almost like going to the Beverly Hillbillies, just like Wyandotte County, though, okay? And so I pull up, and there's this big in-ground pool, and I walk in, and this house kicks ass. It's a good house. I'm like, dudes. And they're like, we got this. How much down did you have to put on it? Exactly. So an old guy wanted to sell the house. They talked him into either owner financing it. Was it an owner finance? At 0 down. And that house has got to be, if it was rehabbed on the market, is it $400,000 or $500,000? It's up there quite a bit, isn't it? And you're in there at 0 down. You were using your heads, and you used a real estate strategy to a house that you office out of, that you use. So you get a big tax deduction on it, and you have ownership in theory. And what's your payment? You're serious? $1,111. 2.75% interest. Yeah, and I'm telling you, this house kicks. The in-ground pool, they have some massive parties out there. The only reason I don't go to the pool parties is every time I put on a swimsuit, for some reason Greenpeace circles around and tries to roll me back in and save me. So, yeah, I hate that. So. Yeah, but that's a great strategy, and you guys have made money doing the owner finance or the subject to and that type of stuff. It's not one of my favorite strategies, and you have to be very careful with it. And if you're going to do it, you have to be prepared for the oh shit factor. If somebody doesn't pay and they tear it up, You need to make sure you don't hand it back to the old owners all fucked up and 3 months behind on the payment. So we saw that happen, but.
Now we buy for cash and sell a lease option, sell it finance.
So so now you're buying them cash and doing the lease option, selling it back to them. So exactly. Yeah. Now, so do you have a separate option contract? The way we did it 15 years ago, lease options were hot then. So it's fun to see all these strategies that people are hyping that we did 15 years ago. So the way I look at a lease option, and tell me if you're doing it differently, but we would keep a rental contract in place, and then we'd have them sign a separate option agreement that if they fulfilled the terms of their rental agreement, then they had an option they could buy it based on these terms, because we didn't want to show ownership. We wanted to evict as opposed to foreclosing. Does that make sense? Okay.
We've done 27 of these involving seller finance contract regime.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to transition more into lease option with the option of seller finance because of tax benefits also.
So you're keeping ownership, so you get the tax benefits. They're tenants now as opposed to owners.
So yours will do lease option.
Yes, as you do the lease option, and that's the benefit of a lease option. There's so many different strategies in real estate investing that literally you can do with no money down. I still buy and sell. I closed a house yesterday. I'm closing one tomorrow. I'm closing one Monday. And I've sold these to my investors. I don't know, I've made 30 or 40 grand and I haven't come out a single dime out of my pocket. Last year, 2023 was probably the top 4 or 5 years for me in investing. And I had 2 assignments over 50 grand, which was crazy because I don't get a lot of $50,000 assignments on, $50,000 houses. So, but they just kind of fell in the lap. And when I talked to the investors, I ran the numbers to them and I said, does this work for you? And they're like, yeah. And I said, well, I got to tell you, I'm making a shitload on this, Are you okay with that? And I told them how much I was making. They're like, yeah, that's great, because the relationship is more important to me to the profit. If they just said, yeah, that's a lot, can you do 40? I'd been like, absolutely. So, but the numbers worked. They were profitable after they bought it. And so this all goes back to the relationships. So if you're going to be an investor, if you're going to invest, if you're going to work with people, you gotta build those relationships. I was the number 1 agent for United Real Estate 2 years in a row in 17 and 18, and I sold more properties than even their biggest teams in the United States in 2018. And so they have me go to Nashville and speak, and they made this special award because I made the most commissions, I had the most number of sales, and then the highest dollar amount of sales or whatever it was. And everybody comes up to me and they're like, oh my God, you're amazing. How do you do this? And I'm like, I'm white trash from Grandview. I said, I'm like the Johnny Appleseed of real estate. I've been planting seeds for 20 years. I've been building relationships. I've been solving problems. I've been creating win-win situations. And my crop has finally come in. And I look like a super hot shot after 20 years. But it's, the first 2 or 3 years I did okay, and then I went through that period where I lost everything, then I got it all back. But it's all about planting seeds and building relationships. So now my business is so easy. Every property that comes to me, I look at it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sell that to that guy. I'm going to sell that one to that guy. I'm going to sell that one to that guy. I don't work real hard now, but because I've got the credibility and I've built the relationships, super easy. So, but it takes a while to get there.
Dan, you've been in the game for a really long time. So, what would you say are the biggest lessons that you've learned in the past few years at this stage in your real estate investment career? What are you still learning?
It depends on what you're going to do. If you're just going to buy properties and keep them yourself, and you're not going to establish other clients and do business with other people, then be very careful. Never be afraid to say no. There's always another house that comes along. Figure out what you're trying to accomplish, how to get there, build your power team. That's if you're going to just be an investor for yourself. You're going to build wealth, you're going to work on your retirement, you're not going to sell to other people. If you're going to wholesale, if you're going to be an agent, if you're going to work with other investors, the relationship trumps everything, okay? The relationship, the investor's profit satisfaction, everything that makes the investor happy is the most important thing, even if it costs you money or a deal, because that's why I am where I am now, because I've got people I've literally been selling for 12 or 13 years. And as a, I'm not necessarily just a wholesaler. I mean, I do everything, but as a wholesaler, how many guys are selling to buy and hold people 12 years later? And then there's not a lot of that big of repeat business. I mean, I don't have to, I lounge around till about 10 in the morning. I go through my phone, I'm looking at my stuff, and I send stuff out unless I got an appointment. And then I spend a few hours checking on rehabs that are in process, do some closings. I might run by the casino 2 or 3 times a week and, play off my free slot play and do some stuff. I might go down to the farm and see my dad. But but the minute an investor says, dude, I just got a maintenance request for this, boom, I'm on it, or I've got somebody on it. And within 2 or 3 hours, I've already got the solution. Here's how much it's going to be. Here's what we're going to do. And we knock it out. Do I do everything? Do my people do everything right all the time? Oh, hell no. So you can ask Ashley Abbott. I've done some rehabs for him. They turned out well, but one took frickin' forever. And that was that guy hasn't worked for me since. And the attention to detail wasn't there. I was embarrassed, and it turned out okay. And Ashley Abbott didn't kick my ass over it, but that wasn't a stellar moment in the Dan Reedy product that he likes to put out. But I'm the first one to say, that sucked. We missed that, and I've got a crew right now that's doing a house in Vineyard. I told this story back there. They knocked out, 3 or 4 in a row, did great. We did a Ruskin house, start to finish, new windows, new kitchen, everything in 14 days. Knocked that son of a gun out of the park. Next house we do is good. I do a house for a gal as a personal favor, her personal house. They dragged this 2-week project out like 6 weeks, and it's just a cluster. Again, huge embarrassment. And so what do you got next, boss? I don't have a damn thing. That was like the end of November. So I finally put him back on a job last Wednesday. They're like, dude, we're broke, we're sorry, and I'm like, all right. So they did they're doing a house for me in Vineyard, just like a Ruskin house. They started last Wednesday. We've got the new kitchen cabinets in. We've got the hole in the wall between the living room and the kitchen. We've got all new windows, new paint. We got the bathroom all done, the LVP's down, and we're like 6 or 7 business days, and I'm 80% done, So they have the ability to do it, and they do it right, but you got to stay on top of them. And if somebody doesn't perform, then if I don't perform, I'm not the guy. But if you don't perform, you need to own up to it. If you make a mistake or stub your toe, you got to be the first one. I've lost my ass on rehabs because I had a crew that didn't perform, and I'd pay somebody else to do it, or something popped up in the rehab for an out-of-state guy that wasn't in the bid, but this client didn't walk through it. He trusted my eyes and ears to tell him what it needed, and I missed a couple of things, and I ate it. So I still sell that guy houses. $5,000 out of my pocket, made me $100 over, in 10 years or whatever it was. That was a very long answer to your question. What else? So we got contractors in here. So as a contractor, what's your pain point with investors? Just trying to find them, or? Oh, yeah, duh. Yeah. Hello. Yeah, no, absolutely. So, yeah. Okay. So you have crews that you put in with contractors. So you might have some guys that can do drywall or framing or that kind of stuff, and so you're marketing your guys to somebody that needs labor. So you're almost like a labor provider. Okay. That there's a big need for that. Are you on social media? Do you market the shit out of that every day? No. Kind of, sort of, yeah. You ain't going to get rich, kind of, sort of, girl. Yeah. You need to get that out there. You need to post stuff. It's crazy. Facebook has the creator or whatever it is that I changed my thing over to. So now I can see how many impressions I get on posts and who's looking at my posts and who's engaging. And my really cool post, I think, man, this post kicks ass, gets like 600 impressions, you know. I post the picture of Jason Kelsey with no shirt on. It's like 3,000 impressions, you know. So, yeah. So I got to figure out how to use Jason Kelsey's, you know, dad bod in my marketing to get more activity. So I put my picture on my face on his body and did a post on it, and that was pretty good. So yeah. It's bad when his lineman body is better than mine, you know. Yeah. So what else? If you could accomplish one thing in the next 12 months in real estate, other than just like win the lottery or get rich, what would it be?
Put a solar on a commercial building.
Do what?
Put a solar on a commercial building.
Okay. What's your game plan to do it?
So basically what we do is we just go around and just search for people that got like that owns their own commercial buildings, and we just pitch them in. And some of them got like boards, so we got to set up presentations and stuff. And so far, nothing. They don't go with it because some of them don't get the 40% at the end of the year. So that's one reason why they don't go with it, even though it's a benefit, but I can't max them out to 100%.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Now, do some of these commercial buildings, can you turn them into some mixed use? Can you put some, you know, like on the second floor, can you put some apartments up there or something?
post and everything, people post up, but now they just actually raise the cap to where, I think it's like 300, what is it, like 300? Oh, okay, the cap is like 200 square feet. Okay, 200 kilowatts, 200,000 kilowatts for commercial. Well, it's still residential now, so they just raised the cap to where it's still like considered residential instead of commercial. So maybe
I would think in what you do, you'd want to be in the path of progress. So, you know, because if you go somewhere that's hot, the cost per square foot would be like too high. Somebody ran 2 blocks worth of commercial and mixed use properties by me first of the week, and they said, we're going to spend X amount to do it, and the rehab's going to be X amount. What kind of cap rate will you want to be at? And I looked at the neighborhood, and I did a Google drive up and down, and there's nothing around it that's nice. It's too far away from the path of redevelopment. So I said, if you're going to do that, you need to probably be a 10 or 12 cap. You know, you need to be as conservative as you can be to make it work. And you need to calculate in a lot of money for vacancy, for vandalism, for theft, etc. Because while you're working on it in this particular strip, it was right on 31st Street with nothing else going on. And I said, you go in there and start doing stuff, there's nothing else around it, I think people are going to come in and take your shit. So that would be something I'd be very conservative on. Now there's areas of Prospect that, you know, stuff's moving south, and there's different neighborhoods that you can buy a smaller type building, maybe make it mixed use or that kind of thing. And I don't know doodly squat about commercial. I just look at the end product and what's the best case scenario and what's the worst case scenario. I would think that you'd have to be somewhere that's going to redevelop in the next 2 to 5 years, you know, that they've made it up within 4 blocks, but this, you know, because, you know, Kansas City is block to block and street to street. So, right? Yeah, so you could have, here's a kick-ass market right here, and then 3 blocks away, it's blight and it's bad, you know? So I maybe want to be like 2 blocks away, you know, and then let it work. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then figure out the exit strategy and how it could benefit the investor the most. So it's going to take longer to get a storefront client, okay? Was anybody in the commercial business when they were handing out the cannabis license? Dude, I had people just like, if you can find me this property in this area that I can put a weed store in, I'll pay you $25,000 cash, but they only had this short period of time because they were going to hand out, it was like a lottery to get like the weed stores, wasn't it? Oh my God, the scramble for that and for the storefront, you know, but they didn't close on it. They just wanted to tie it up to use it in the application. I had one guy met at a casino, imagine that. He's like, oh, you're in real estate? dude. Yeah. And I'm like, wrong guy. Yeah, so God bless you.
I've got a question about your investors that buy and hold. Do they use like a separate LLC generally for each property? Do they have a holding company? Do you get to see what their structures look like that often?
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to have an LLC. And so the reason for the LLC is to protect you from lawsuits, et cetera. So they can only come after the assets of the LLC. So if you own 10 properties worth $100,000 piece, you've got $1 million in assets. If you put all 10 of those under one LLC, you've got $1 million in exposure, okay? It's pretty cheap to start an LLC. I do mine online. It's like $300 or $300 or $400. There's no reason not to be, and I've got clients that literally the LLC was 1234 Main LLC, the address LLC. So it depends on your tolerance for risk. And so how much of that do you want to expose to risk in case a lawsuit happens? Because they're not going to sue you for 50 or 100 grand. You know, they're going to sue you for $1 million or 10 million, but if the LLC only has $100,000 in assets, that's all they'll get. Now they're starting to pierce that corporate veil a little bit, you know, and come after the people personally, and it'll eventually happen, but that's still your best bet. So, because you can, I mean, LLCs are easy to operate. So if it was me, I'd tell you, the only downside to that is you have to have a tax return. You have to do, you know, your taxes, everything funnels to you personally, but you still have to do a return for each LLC. So that's where your expense would come in, but you'd have to work with your CPA and, you know, and maybe you put 2 or 3 in an LLC. Again, it depends on your tolerance for risk. So you're in insurance, what would you tell your client to do?
Well, there's a special purpose entity where it can be treated as a disregarded entity. You don't have to return for that. So it just goes in on your schedule.
Yeah.
So it saves you a little bit of money on the bookkeeping side.
And that's a great topic. You know, everybody wants to, you know, talk about real estate investing and making money and all that kind of stuff. But once you do it, you know, how do you protect your assets? You know, what do you do for taxes? You know, I'm taxed as an S Corp because that's what my guy tells me I need to do. You know, I don't know why, I just do it because he tells me to be taxed as an S Corp. I don't even know what an S Corp is. I don't want to know, you know, so I want to pay the people that know. You know, you've got depreciation. What else? Yeah. Peace out. Yeah. Yeah. So that was Ashley Clements of the Clementine Group. She does property management and she sells houses. You're asking me about a water heater, right? Yep. What I would charge for water heater compared to what other people get charged for water heaters? Okay. So, example, the guy I've sold hundreds of houses to, he calls me up or sends me an email, says they want to replace my water heater in Platte City, and it's $2,400, but they say it needs an expansion tank. And I'm like, shit, dude. I'm thinking it ought to be like, I think I can buy water heaters for like $500 or you know, I think Home Depot is still $500 or $600 for a water heater, you know, but let me check. So I talked to my plumber and he does the whole thing for like $1,800. That's the water heater, that's the expansion tank, and doesn't charge me anything extra for going to Platte City. And so we saved the guy like $800 on a water heater. I post this on Facebook, okay? And I don't beat up any of my vendors, okay? I refer them out. My vendors probably get 3 times as much work from other people, me referring them out, as they do just for me. And I post on Facebook, you know, because I'm building up the property management company, and here's why you should do business with Dan Reedy. I'm gonna save you some money. And I had these plumbers just pound me. I mean, oh, you're no way you got it done for that. And you're not letting your contractor make any money, and you're beating him up. And I'm just like, no, yeah, he's been doing my plumbing for a year. Whatever price he gives me, I say okay. And I paid him before he even went out to do it, you know. Here's the labor and here's the material. When he tells me it's going to be done by 2 o'clock tomorrow, he's paid by noon tomorrow. okay? That's how important that guy is to me. I love this guy. If he says, Dan, I think I'm going to need a kidney. I said, as long as you don't need a liver, you're good, baby. I got you, you know? So, yeah. Contractors, people that do what they say they're going to do, real estate agents, contractors, property management companies, your trash guy, the people that mow your yard, the people that do what they say they're going to do and they do it well and they do it right, they're worth whatever. And again, I got hammered on social media because there's no way you got it done for that. I'm like, I made $200 profit and I didn't beat him up a single dime, but oh my gosh, you know, and that's okay. If you've got a client base that will pay that, everybody has their own rate that they charge. So the same guy has property management and he brought doing the property management company and he says, Dan, property management company I got charges me between 5 and 7% of my monthly fee. And he says, why would I move over to you? You're going to be 10%. How much can you discount? And I said, I'm not going to discount it, and I'm 1 month's rent. They only charged me half a month's rent, and I said, how about this? How about I do your I'll do your property management for free on every single property you got, and I'll do your tenant placement for free on every single property you got. Just let me charge you what they're charging you for maintenance. You know what he said? Fuck you. Yeah, I'm sending you 12 doors right now. You know, so yeah. There's a whole big difference between the cost and the price. The 5% monthly management fee, he was losing money. And he was like, why am I losing money? I got great properties, because they were just hammering him on the maintenance. You know, so yeah, I'll do it for free. Just let me charge you what they're charging. Let me charge you what they're charging you. But anyway, come to these groups. They're great places to meet people because everybody has a niche. You know, Joe Blackshear is a great source of information. And, you know, I'm a broker and I tell my client, I've got this house, here's what I think it'd do, send it to Joe. There's times I just copy you and I send it to him. And I'm like, you know, Ross and Joe, here's this property, tell me what you think, okay? And on that one house, I've only told you to lay off the crack pipe one time. Yeah, and that's 70th Street's, yeah. Yeah, and we're actually we can turn that into a 3-2, and I think that was, we didn't give you all the information because it showed Zillow as a 2-1, but yeah, that's all right, you know, I mean, every once in a while you got to hit the pipe, dude, you know, there's a lot of stress in this business, you know, a lot of stress in this business, so, you know, so, yeah, I love putting those on some wholesale deals, you know, it's like, yeah, what happened right before we made this post, and it shows the guy like lighting the meth pipe. You know, so yeah. No. All right. Well, this has been fun. You know, it's got some decent interaction there. No other questions? No other. There's nothing on your mind about real estate? Oh.
What's your opinion on the new source of income ordinance?
The what?
The source of income ordinance?
Yeah. Tell me more about it.
It's like you can't city. You can't restrict it on source of income or criminal history, credit reports.
Well, it's just what it's going to be, okay? And so you have to deal with it. So I got in the car business right out of high school, ended up in the finance office, and I dealt with people with bad credit, but I was on the other side, and I always tried to find a way to make a deal work, okay? There's certain things that you can't control, and there's certain things you can control. So when I've dealt with tenants in the past, and they've sent deals over to me, because I've done a lot of tenant placement just on my own for my clients. I've run the ads, I've met with the people, and I ask them the question, and they do the screening, and we're looking at it, and I'm like, all right, this looks like shit, okay? This is terrible. Tell me something good. Who have you paid? Doesn't have to be on your credit report. Who have you paid, okay? Let's get some verification of that, and then let's get a story for this bad stuff, okay? So if the income is legitimate, if it's disability, if it's child support, they ought to be able to back that up with bank statements, okay? But sometimes it's what I can control is how much security deposit I can charge. And I've had times where I've said, you know what, I think I can get you in this, but I need, you know, you got to have some skin in the game, because the reason people will loan you money And putting a tenant in a property is the same as loaning you money, okay? I'm putting you in my house with the promise you're gonna pay me every month, okay? And the only two things we have to base our decision on is your willingness to pay and your ability to pay, okay? So willingness to pay shows up in your credit report. It doesn't look like you've been willing to pay nobody, okay? So who have you paid, and tell me why you didn't pay this. Medical bills, we don't care about. I don't care if you pay Sears, okay? I'm more concerned about eviction or a foreclosure or a repo, because if you let a car go back, so you're just gonna walk, tell me what happened there, because we know you don't wanna walk. Why'd you get foreclosed on? Because people, they're gonna pay for a roof, okay? They got to live somewhere, so tell me about this eviction and let me see if I can verify why, okay? Because if you have a couple of evictions in the last 2 years, you don't show that you have the willingness to pay. And then ability to pay, if we can verify the income, I don't care where they get the money, okay? I've put strippers in houses and, and people that make the money, they just can't necessarily prove or want to prove the income. And we offset that with skin in the game, which is higher security deposits. Can you put 3 months security deposit down? Yeah, okay. Then let me run that up the flagpole, and I have a conversation with the owner with the tenant's approval. Can I kind of give them an idea that what you do is how you get this money, and this is why you have what you have? Yes. And then you go from there. So did that kind of answer it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but, people need a place. We got to figure, most management companies, especially the big corporate people, and this is where you as landlords can pick up some ground with some decent tenants, because First Key Homes, Main Street Renewal, Conrex, those kind of guys, they look at the app and it's pretty much a flat line, yes or no. Yeah, we'll take you or we won't, okay? And most of these people have a reason, or could be good tenants if they were coached properly and given reasonable expectation. So maybe when you're advertising for your tenants, say, hey, have you been turned down for a property? Call me, maybe I can work that out, okay? I think we could work closer, and small investors could be heroes to the rental groups if we tried a little harder, okay? And I'm more of a Trump than I am a Biden, okay? So if that gives you any idea, but I think we could work closer with the people that are in need and struggle. There's certain reasons they struggle, that if we could find a solution and a way to do this, whether it's an extra security deposit, your rent's gonna be $100 a month higher, we're gonna go to a shorter term lease. They can't tell us how long of a lease. Maybe you put them on a month-to-month lease or a 3-month lease, okay? You know what, if you pay these 3 months, if you pay these 4 months, whatever it is, and you pay them right and you take care of the place, I'll extend your lease out another 8 months, okay? There's ways to work around it that if we do it, the rental groups will be like, oh, this particular segment of the investors are trying, we're not gonna bust their balls as hard. We're gonna go after the Conrex, we're gonna go after the hedge funds and the people that are buying all the inventory that we really want. Am I right? And I've made a shitload of money on hedge funds, but I ain't making no money on them right now, and I don't have a relationship. So, but yeah, figure out a way to see if there's a way to put a deal together that's a win-win. Do a shorter term lease. If you put them on a 3-month lease and they don't pay, then you can evict their ass like right now, or it's easier to get them out if the lease has expired, if they turn to month, and if they pay on time, 3 months in a row, I'm gonna knock $100 off your 4th month's rent. Think outside the box a little bit, and then they'll probably give you referrals. I've gotten referrals from tenants that I've taken care of. They're like, my sister needs a place, my aunt needs a place, you need to call Mr. Dan. Everybody calls me Mr. Dan. Just think outside the box, okay? All right, I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. Ashley Clements.
How do people work with you, and how do they get on your buyer list?
I was just getting ready to talk about that, you little old mind reader, you. I'm on Facebook. I'm easy to find. I'll leave some cards on a tab. I've got a bunch of cards with me. But just shoot me a message on Facebook if you got a question. I refer, people ask me almost on a daily basis, Dan, who do you use for down foundations? Who do you use for a plumber? You got a roofing guy? Anything like that that you need? Reach out and I'll send you the people that I have decent luck with, okay? I'll help you analyze a deal, okay? So is anybody working a deal right now that you're on the fence on? Anybody working a deal? Nobody's working a deal? Boy, you guys suck. What kind of investors we got here? Nobody's working a deal? Yeah. Yeah.
Dan, check out my Facebook Live 10 minutes before I got here.
Oh, really?
Tell me if we should buy that house. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, Ross had me go look at one with him yesterday, and it's from what I call one of the usual suspects. I'm like, this guy, this will be for sale in 30 days from now for 10 grand less, but I will go look at it with you. But he actually owns 3 houses down the street, and we walked through it, and I knew before I went there it was 15,000 too high, but we walked through and he's like, oh yeah, you're right, this is 15,000 too high. And so, yeah, but that house will hit social media every 2 or 3 days for the next 3 or 4 weeks, unless some dumbass buys it, which are fewer and far between now. The dumbasses are getting education, and and then they'll take a lower deal. But if you're wholesaling, if you've got a buyer that buys good, don't not sell it to him, because you can sell it to somebody new or somebody you don't know for more money. That will bite you in the ass, okay? Because a guy like me and Ross and Travis Abbott and multiple people in this group, if we tell you we're going to take it, we're 100% and we can close right now, okay? I've had people send me a deal and I'm like, I'll do it for this. And then they sell it to somebody else. 30 days later, they say, you still want that house? I said, absolutely, but I'm about 7 grand less now, okay? So you came to me with a deal and said, I've got this deal. What do you think of the house? I said, do it. I said, yeah, you don't even have to sell it to me. I told you that. I said, this house will make you money. That's a deal. You got to do it. Well, are you interested? I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll buy it, you know. But I didn't try to buy it from you at first, did I? I just told you, that's a deal. You need to do that deal. And then you said, would you buy it? I said, yeah, you can buy it. And then you said, well, it forecloses the day after tomorrow. Can you close that fast? And I said, if you have title work and a HUD, I can close that fast. So, and then the next day, are you sure you can close tomorrow? I'm like, uh-huh, you're not waiting on me. So, but he talked about Rick Davis title, ended up getting the foreclosure extended, and then I was asking about it, and I'm like, well, I wonder if they're going to screw me on this deal now that they've got an extra week to sell it to somebody else. So I'm like, send me an extension on that. And sure enough, you did. And I'm like, yay. So, but I'm 100%. If I tell you I'll take it, I could, and I had the money lined up. I was ready to close Friday. My lender was ready to send the money. We just didn't have title work back yet. And that was on a Wednesday, and I was ready to close Friday. I'm ready to close today. We're closing tomorrow. Yeah, they tell me that, hey, they sent me a text before I got here. They said, hey, the title work's good. Can you close tomorrow? I'm like, I haven't even seen the title work, and I don't have a settlement statement. I email the title company. It's like, I already sent the shit to your lender. He's working on it. I'll have you the paperwork tomorrow. We're closing tomorrow. I'm like, okay, thanks, you know. But it's a win-win, because I know how much he's making. He's making a great profit on it for basically just walking through it and finding the deal. I'm going to buy it. I already know who I'm going to sell it to. I'm going to make a great profit on it. The guy's not losing it to foreclosure, so, because I think his payoff is less than what you're buying it for. So he's making money. So, yeah, don't skip over a 100% sure thing to try to make some more money and piss off your good buyer. There's quite a few good buyers, and then there's a lot of wannabe buyers. So make sure that if you pass over your good buyer, that you're okay losing the deal or taking less if I hope this guy doesn't close over the guy that says, I'm definitely closing. Did I say that right?
A definitely close is always better than a maybe close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because the people that I sell to, I do deals all the time, but I know I can make between 5 and 10 grand more to somebody else don't care. They might buy 1 or 2 houses a year. My good guys buy 20 a year. So that $5,000 that I lost on one deal made me $100,000 on 20 more or whatever it was. So yeah, it's a big picture. So anything else? I think Daniel's tired of me talking. He's flipped the lights off and on twice now. So yeah. Huh? I'm doing fabulous. Yeah. Did I put enough powder on? Is anybody getting blinded from the glare? Yeah. So I tried to put some powder up there, but yeah, I downed an airplane last week. It was really bad when the sun came out. And so yeah, I'm on the no-fly zone area. So yeah. All right. Daniel, you got any input? Anything to add?
Good stuff.
All right. Well, I'd say I'll hand out some cards, but I guarantee you need to shake hands with a handful of people in here and find out who's a buyer or who's a contractor and build that relationship and the network. So this is an insurance guy here, and he asked questions about LLCs and protecting assets, so I'd say somebody needs to talk to that guy. So yeah. All right. Thanks a bunch. Thanks for having me. Hope I didn't bore you. And we'll see you later.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Dan. Guys, raise your hand if you're a buyer in here, if you're trying to buy a deal right now. Almost everybody. Yeah, so connect with Dan, connect with me, connect with Joe. Guys, everybody needs buyers, guys. It's good to network. I've made a lot of money networking at events just like this, at my own events. Deals watching me there. My buyers watching guys. Our cohort, that's why I put this on. Hope you guys had a good time tonight. You guys had a good time tonight? Wonderful. Yeah, thanks, Dan, for coming out, guys. I think the place is open till 10 o'clock, so we can hang out in here till then, guys, or however long you want. But I want to give another quick shout out to our sponsors here. We got Rex Rosenbaum in the back of the table, guys. If you want to talk about hard money with him, you've got a deal you need to quote on, or you want to ask about his rate term, things like that, guys. And like Dan said, with the hard money, guys, the biggest thing with the deal is getting the deal closed. It's not how much you're paying. You can try to save a buck or two.
I was going to ask you earlier when we were talking over there. So a house in Cleveland and 36, 37 Cleveland. My buddy's debating if you want to sell it or refinance it. How much do you think a house like that can sell for? Like 3.2.
Is it a rental?
They have tenant in there right now.
If it's in good shape and not a turd, around the 1% rule, yeah, if you're going to a retail investor, okay, if you're going to sell it to a guy like me that's going to sell it to an investor, then 75% of the 1% rule, is a decent rule of thumb. So at 37th in Cleveland, there's a big 2-story tan duplex on the corner. Mm-hmm. I owned that property multiple times.
Multiple times?
Yeah.
Buy it, sell it.
Guess how much I paid for that? Like 35 or 40 grand. I had then just up the street, two blocks up on the right-hand side's another one just like it. I bought that dirt cheap. Didn't do as well on it because they built the whole thing and never tied into the city sewer.